Hi, kindergarten, first and second grade leaders. We're preparing for September 1st in our series called Back to Basics. In this series, we've been looking at Solomon, and we'll continue past Solomon and look at Elijah and how God was providing for the people of Israel to be led by some men who were like Solomon, wise, and other people like Elijah or Elisha who were seeking God. And so, as we continue this lesson, this series, today we're looking at the divided kingdom. Last week we looked at how Solomon built a temple, and Solomon did good in building the temple, and he was doing good things as a king. And then he started to make some bad choices. He had many women as a part of his life. He had, because of those relationships, they worshiped different gods than his one true God. And they encouraged him to practice things that they participated in their religions. And so Solomon began to make choices that showed God that he was not worshiping only the one true God. And remember, God had told people all along, I am God, and I need you to worship only me. And so as a consequence of this, he separates the kingdoms. He divides them. He divides them into a northern kingdom, which is Israel, ruled by Jeroboam. And then he separated the southern kingdom, which was called Judah, ruled by Rehoboam. Both of those gentlemen were sons of Solomon, and so they were separated into their different kingdoms. And as we will see through Rehoboam's family, the kingdom of Judah, God is sending Jesus to come out of the family of Judah. We also see throughout time how this separation has continued to cause angst in that area of the world and cause people to quarrel over religious preferences. The separation begins to show us why we are still experiencing that as the world right now. And so we should remember in this lesson, though, that God was preparing all along for people to know the one true God and the perfect king. Solomon couldn't be the perfect king. He was a good king, but he was not the perfect king. Obviously, he continued to make bad choices as well. And so God wanted his people to know that what they think on an earthly king. And remember, we see this when Jesus is born even, that they're looking for that earthly king, that when you are looking towards an earthly king to fulfill everything that you want, that you're looking at the wrong things. And all of us can fall into that. When we're looking for creature comforts to fulfill every need, then we are not putting God as a part of everything. And so we can all stand to learn a little bit from knowing that Jesus and God are the only perfect kings, and that we needed Jesus to come to rescue us from all of this. All right, your social activity, you have your pickup sticks and some toothpicks. This may be about the last week that you want to do this game. Kind of depends on how many of the kids that you feel like you know now or that they know you. If you want to begin to ask a little different questions based on the color that they pick up, you're welcome to add some different questions to this. I know you guys change every week, and sometimes the groups of kids change every week too. And so it does help to build off of this. I want to remind you that these activities are not necessarily to point somebody to Jesus, except that when you have built trust and relationship with somebody, you have more of a chance to share Jesus with them later. So I think these activities are just as important as our other activities, because what we are trying to do in this small amount of time with potentially a group of strangers is help them build trust so that we can share something really big and important with them. So that's what you do when you play these social activities. It's also a great way to fill some time if you need to fill some time before parents come to pick them up, or you just have some transition time or something. You can pick up that game again and have something to play over and over and over again. We'll do large group, and then when you get to your small group area, you're going to have a bag full of just little pieces of paper like this. You'll also have a paper that looks like this that shows you what it looked like when it was whole. Each of your pictures was whole. And you can use your teen helper or another leader within your group to help you hide a few of these pictures. You're going to keep one half, like you have a donut. You keep one half of the donut, but you're going to go hide the other half of the donut somewhere in the room. You have a cookie, you have a strawberry, you have a glass of milk, and you have an ice cream cone. And so you're going to keep one half, hide the other half, and then you're going to get your kids to help you find and put together the kingdoms. Because remember, we learned about the divided kingdom. And when things are divided, there begins to be some issues between the people. And then you can remind them that King Solomon failed to lead God's people perfectly. God's people need a better king, a perfect king. Through David's family, God would send his own son, Jesus Christ, to be a perfect king over God's people forever. Jesus is greater than Solomon. Jesus brings his people together and leads them back to God. And then you have a bucket. And in your bucket are some bean bags. And this is your memory verse activity. What the kids are supposed to do is you put the bucket on the floor and tape off, if you don't already have some taped lines in the room. Most of the rooms have tape on the floor already. You're going to tape off a section for you to, the kids to stand behind the tape to throw a bean bag in the bucket. And the instructions, I think, say that every time they get a beanbag in the bucket, they can say a word of the memory verse. If you want to make that a phrase or the entire memory verse, you can do it that way too. Then you can pray and dismiss your kids when their parents get there to pick them up. Remind you that as parents are coming to pick up, this is a great time to encourage parents and share with them what we taught today and what you saw their kid do in small group. Parents are beginning to learn to trust us as well, especially with our littlest ones. And they need to know that we pay attention to their kid. And I know you do, but the way the parents know that is by us interacting with them and sharing with them the things from small group that we think parents need to hear or see. Now, if that was ever a time where there was some correction that needed to be done, make sure you do that gently, not just tell them how terrible the kid was, unless it really is terrible. But I would imagine you and I'll talk, or your campus leader and you will talk before that happens. Because I know that's not a conversation most of you like to have real regularly. But just encourage them to say, you know, we had a great day today. The kids did this, this, and this. Your son or daughter participated like this. And most of the time, I know all of you, most of the time you guys all have great things to share with parents. And I thank you for the way you love kids and lead them to Jesus.